What's up, guys? I'm Jake. In today's video, we're going to be showing you a workflow of the same exact workflow someone used to generate 500K in potential business over 6 months using just cold email. And so this is going to be built all through a platform called N8N. If you're not familiar with N8N, it just lets you automate your workflow. So you can basically build the infrastructure and then it's plug and play, and then it runs autonomously in the background. And then we're also going to be using some AI to make personalized messages. And then we're also going to be using an Apollo as our backend database. And then lastly, we'll be using Perplexity to enrich some information for the personalized icebreakers. But in short, this is the same exact workflow. A bit of different variations. I made some improvements on it to make it lower cost and simpler for everybody. And it's 100% no code as well. So if you guys aren't familiar with any of the stuff that I just said, don't worry. I'm going to walk you through all of it step by step. And so it's very beginner friendly. You don't need to know anything before coming into this video because I'll share with you all of it. I'll show you how to work all of it. And excuse me if I'm clearing my throat and coughing throughout. I'm getting over a cold. And so with that, let's jump right into it. So this is what N8N looks like. Like I said, if you're not familiar with N8N, don't get overwhelmed. It's a lot simpler and a lot less imposing than it appears at first glance. And all of this and all of this and all of the last workflow, which I'll build for you, or I'll show you how to do it step by step, is all just to get the point of pulling leads into a single database, which we're going to be using Google Sheets, which is accessible to everybody. It's 100% free. And we're pulling those leads into Google Sheets, and then we're using that information in the Google Sheets to create these personalized messages that's enriched with AI. And then we're using it to also automatically send them out. Oh, one thing I forgot, we're using backend instantly as our email courier, I should say. So if you have any questions along the way, guys, feel free to drop it in the comments. I'm pretty active there since I have a very small YouTube. So I'll be able to answer any questions anyone has. But looking this, let's cover a couple key things here. The first key is this right here. This is what's known as an HTTP node. All these things are nodes. This one is an HTTP node. And we use the HTTP node, don't worry about the name too much if it sounds imposing, but we use it basically just to make a call. And we make a call to what's called an API. And that API, which don't ask me what it stands for, but basically just links to this database. So if you think about it like this, it's like we made a call, just say, hey, hello, Apollo. Hey, we need 100 companies of this type and this category sent to us. And so you basically just make that call and then they send you the companies, and then you can upload those companies to your Google Sheets and do what you will with them from that point on. But all this infrastructure is just to facilitate this. And the reason why we need all this infrastructure is because Apollo API sucks. It's really bad. And so we have to work within the confines of what we're given. And so I wish we didn't have to do all this extra work to make it work. But, fortunately, Apollo API isn't very good. We need 3 Apollo APIs just to get one result. And so I will show you how to do all of that. I already figured it out. I've already done all the heavy lifting for you. And if you have done lead scraping before, a lot of people used to use the Apify actor for the Apollo scraping. You no longer have access to that. They did away with it. And so this actually circumvents that. You don't need that anymore. And so, maybe you are more familiar with this, and this might be very helpful for you as well, because I'm showing you how to do that without the Apify scraper. So jumping into it, we start off with 2 nodes called limit and wait. These 2 nodes, limit and wait, are basically just to help facilitate the Google Sheets, because Google Sheets in N8N gets very rate limited. So that means that if you put a whole bunch of information into Google Sheets, it freaks out and says, I can't handle this, and it fails. And so we put these here first and foremost to stop that from happening. And so the first limit node, which you can find all your nodes in here, but you just type in limit, you go here, you add it, and then you put max items 1, keep first item. And then you add a wait node. You can add 2 seconds, 3 seconds, doesn't matter. 2, I find, is enough for what we're doing here. Sometimes 3 is a little bit more helpful if, it's running really quick. And then you add your Google Sheets node. And the Google Sheets node is going to be linked to, of course, your Google Sheets. And this is how you have to set up your Google Sheets. So you need 3 different tabs. The first tab you need to set up is the pagination tab. And I'll get into why this is important later, but you just set up a tab, you click page, you add one, and then the rest get filled in automatically. The second is the companies. This is where you add your companies. All these headers we have here are just what is included, at least posed from these two, in the in the information we receive from Apollo. And so you can just copy me here, put date, company name. I'm going to make this a little more like that. Organization ID, primary domain, and then add these two because we'll need them later. And then website URL. And so you add those, and if you want to get ahead of yourself, you can also add the people one, but we're going to cover that a little bit later. So first, you add that, that Google Sheets node, and then after that, you add the summarize. And so the summarize is going to be counting the number of pages from our pagination Google Sheets tab right here. It's going to say, okay, great, we're on page 22. So I need to pull the 22nd page. And we get that information from here. So you basically say, hey, I want to get the information from my sheet. I called it 500K 6 months. And I want to get it from the pagination tab. And then when you run it, I'll show you here. You get this output, 22 items. And so then when you go here, it's counting the page 1, it's counting how many there are, 22. And so from there, this is when it gets a bit complex, but don't worry, I'll walk you through it. So you get your HTTP node, right? And you can get them from here. You just type in HTTP and you open it. And you're going to want to add what's called an API endpoint under URL. And this is the exact endpoint, so you can just copy this right here. But if you want to look at the other endpoints, you can always go to Apollo API docs and go here, and you can find all of the different Apollo APIs. But basically, you just add that, and then you say send headers, yes, and you just type in this information: cache control, no cache, accept, application JSON, and then you put this for your API key, and you put your API key here. Of course, I deleted mine, so people can't steal my API key, but nonetheless, that's where you would put your API key. And then you refine your parameters in here as well, which if you go here, you can see all the available parameters. I'm sorry, it's organization search. Here's the endpoint again, and you can see all the available parameters here that you can use. And so you go there and you basically fill it in JSON format. And if you don't know JSON, don't worry, you can kind of just give it to ChatGPT and it will do it for you. But essentially, you just start with brackets and you end with brackets, and then everything else for these things, you just put them in quotes, and you put a little colon here. And then for most of them, you put array, and then this is organization number. So you put, I want 5 to 20 people in these, in my search. And then, locations for where you want to search. These are all my locations. Same formatting, and you just, put quotes around each of them, commas, delimitation by commas, and then you close the array bracket, and then you always end with a comma except for the last one. And then organization keywords. These are the organizations types of organizations we're searching for. And then per page, 100. And then page, that's going to be the actual page we're looking on. And so that's where this guy comes in, right? So we feed this in right here. So you can see we put that right here. And you can see here that we are on page 22. And then from there, you need what's called a split out node. Again, you can find it right here. You go split out, and then it'll just split out the output of all this into individual items, because it'll come in a batch at first, just like a clump of different ones, and I'll run it once to show you guys. So I know it says one item, but if you go here, the reason why it says one item is because there's actually 100 items, and you can see here organization 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, blah. There's 100 of them. And then so we have to go here to basically split them out. And all you do right here is, you see it says organizations. You just type in organizations and it knows, because if you go here, we can go organizations right here. And you can just plop that in and it's in there. And then we see now we have 100 items. So it's split out all 100 different items. And then we have a remove duplicates node. Again, you could find that right here, just like the other nodes. I'm going to stop saying that because I think I've said it enough now. And it'll basically remove duplicates, and I did it based on the organization ID. So if it sees the same organization ID again, it'll just not include it, and it'll automatically remove it. And so we execute that step. And we see we got 4 items. I guess we've gotten most of these companies before, which is fine. We might be running out on our list because I just ran for 1,000. And then we add the companies to our Google Sheets from there. So now we see it's 500K, 6 months is our Google Sheet. And now we go to the companies tab instead. So under here, we do companies instead. And then we just map everything. So the date, I just type that in. It's just $.format, parenthesis, this thing, whatever you call that thing. Whatever you call that thing. Apostrophe. D apostrophe, close, and the bracket. So you can just copy me there, no problem. The rest of it, you can just drag and drop. So name, I drag and drop here, and you can see its name. And you do that for all the items that you need. And so you see, what the heck is that? You see we need the, let's say company name, JSON ID, company ID, primary domain, and website URL. And then lastly, we aggregate it. And the reason why we aggregate it is for the pagination. So we go back here and we're adding a number to our page. And so we're back to 500K 6 months, pagination, and we just have to add a number here. And we add the number there by just literally dragging and dropping the this one right here. So we drag and drop this. And then all I do is do +1. Super simple. You see that, guys? How it was 22, now it's 23. And then we execute that. And we see here, we now have 23. And so that's the first part. It's done and done from there. Easy enough, right? So I'm just going to break this up into a few separate videos so it doesn't overwhelm everybody and it's not just one giant video. So this will be part 1, and part 1 is now finished. So I'll make part 2 shortly here, which we're going to go over this next flow, which is actually finding the people and enriching the information. And so that's part 2. And then part 3 is going to be this. Part 3 is going to be where we actually take all that information and we make personalized messages and we put it into our Instantly campaign. And so I'll go over that as well. But nonetheless, that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, let me know. Drop a comment below, like and subscribe if you would. I'd really appreciate it, trying to grow here. Nonetheless, see you in the next one, guys. Take care.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.